Yeah, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to you. I do hope you have a fantastic weekend and you are starting your new week as planned with a great energy, higher frequency, and expecting everything to turn out for your highest good. Yes, I know you have a great week ahead, and I'm glad to welcome you to yet another episode of the Being a Man conversation. The Being a Man conversation series, like we have had 12 episodes and now we have going to the 13th episode. It's all about exploring a man's journey from his boyhood to his adolescent to his young adult to his middle adult and to his later part of adult life and what he wants to do as an adult male. So we've had several conversations in the past. And today we have a fantastic guest joining us. But let me tell you who I am. I am Ola Akinwe. I'm the founder of Boys Mentoring Advocacy Network here in Nigeria, Africa, and as well registered, incorporated in the United States of America. Our organization is equipping boys, empowering boys with the tools they need to transit from boyhood to manhood so that they turn out with positive life outcomes. And it's a big honor to have this opportunity to influence young boys. What have we say about the boys we have today is a lot of identity confusion, a lot of poor decision making, a lot of emotional traumas, no positive role models in their life. This is what we offer as an organization. So if you have anyone young boy growing up in your vicinity, in your community, we are glad to have such a boy join our organization and have a fantastic opportunity to be. We want to start this conversation. I put this to us. If boys don't learn, men won't. And tonight, like I said, I'm going to have a great conversation. My guest, Paul Lognin, and going to know more about him. Please, could you, I mean, adjust your camera so that you can give us like a good. This is perfect. Yeah,
Better.
it's much better, brother. I appreciate you. This is good to know. So before I introduce my guest, I'm happy to have you on today's adventure series about a man's journey from boyhood to manhood, kind of your cultural influences, your relationship with your dad, you know, masculinity. Now you're a father of boys, and I know that. And we're going to explore this in a higher uh, dimension. People want to know more about how all these are turning out as you are evolving into a great man. So I want to welcome. Let me let me say this as part of the conversation. You know, we all have to grow up in family situation, and we all have our different experiences. This conversation is all about your experience as you navigate the journey boyhood to men. And we want to thank you for your time, for accepting to be on this conversation. So glad to have you, Mr. Sean Ajayi.
Thank
To
you for having me.
the yeah, those who will be watching this after this conversation, I'd like to bring my guest to you and introduce him briefly before we start this conversation. Yeah, my guest is Sean Ajayi. He has an education background in finance and investment management. He has worked mostly as an entrepreneur in the United States with investments in real estate, banking, and insurance agency. He also is an auto dealer. But with all of this, humanitarian services brings to him the most fulfillment and joy. So join me as we explore the adventure of Sean Ajayi from boyhood to manhood. Mr. Sean, welcome. I'm glad to have
Thank
you.
you so much. Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure, and thank you for your kind words.
Yeah, you're most appreciated. Uh, let's start by you telling us or sharing with us what is it like being a
Yes, my childhood was quite interesting. It was always about just what you would like to become when you grow up. I had different aspirations when I was a child. I wanted to be a pilot at some point. Some point I wanted to be an architect. Some point I wanted to be an artist. But it was a childhood where like my mom and my dad was present for the most part of my life, and later on things
oh,
started to change. Yes.
wow? So describe your father growing up. What's your father? How's your father like? What are the traits you can talk about him and that you still embrace and appreciate?
Okay. The traits that I can embrace about my father is mostly about his contentment. He was a very content man. Although my dad was sort of like a celebrity because he was in TV and movie productions at that time. So, just having a dad who was very popular, was always on a soap opera television station, was quite interesting. But he was a very religious man. The things of values that he instilled in me is the value of the kindness and the value of also having faith in God and having God in the center of your life. Um, One strong takeaway that I took from my dad is just honesty, being just very, very honest. Integrity was very important because he taught me how to be honest and how to take accountability. And that's one of the things that I learned from him growing up as a child. Yeah.
Oh, wonderful. Good to share that with us. Talk about honesty, accountability, and growing up with your parents. Would you have, would you say right now you would have had something that your father had done differently? What would that
So, as for me, I'm a family man, and I've always had this family interest. Legacy is part of the reasons why I became an entrepreneur, just to create that generational wealth for my children. My two boys, as you know, I have two young sons, 8 and 6. For example, by partnering up with my mother, I mean, my wife, my apologies, my wife, in most of the things that we did. Things that I would do differently from my father. I think my dad had a selfish ambition. Although he has his strong suits, that was one of his biggest weaknesses because he didn't really have the foresight to kind of lay a pathway for for me, or kind of set that example of strong family values. Because I feel like when you have family, you have community, and that's how communities are built. So eventually my family became a broken. I came from a broken family eventually. So because of that, sense of value was not there with him, and that's one of the things that I have taken away from that experience with my father now being present at certain time, especially at those certain time that I did not say, well, I'm not going to strive to be better than him, but I'm going to learn from those mistakes and create a better path for my children. You know.
Yeah, I thank you for sharing that. You talk about at the stage in your life you had your parents separated, and
Right.
at this stage, what what was it like for you in terms of having a father present in your life?
So
You
at that
know,
stage, it's a very, yeah. Good. Sorry.
you, at the stage where your both parents, maybe when they're separate, you know,
Correct. Yeah.
yeah. What stage of, I mean, what age bracket of life were you? Were you already an adult male, or you were in your teenage years? Or so I want to really explore the gap of not having your father being present every day and how it affected you as a young man.
Yeah. I am very, very grateful for that question. I believe this with and whoever is there. I think between 12, 12, growing up, going to become a teenager, and manhood. I would put it simply at the stage of becoming a man, which was very, very important to have my own father, my biological father, present in my life because there will be a void. That void was there, and
Yeah,
there was different influences that kind of ventured in my life, being a relative, being it just teachers or folks that I see in the neighborhood, and the kind of lifestyle that they live and the things that I wanted to emulate. So it was kind of it was a tough time for me. And then for me, I had to take on other responsibilities too because I had younger ones. So it didn't really give me time to kind of an error at that age, that teenage years, to explore, to make mistakes, to learn. It was almost like I had this constant pressure that I could not make a mistake, because they were my younger ones counting on. That's a very delicate time in a young man's life because that rather makes or actually breaks that young man because that impression that gives opportunity for someone to influence a young person in.
we seems to be having issue with your network signals over there, but
Oh,
this
I'm
is what
sorry.
we got, and we make the yeah,
Can you hear
because
me now?
the conversation seems to be breaking. Yeah, it seems to be breaking. I think it's the strength of your network carrier. I think it's not, the signal isn't strong enough. But now let's continue the conversation, which I still want to really get to know more about. At 12, your both parents were separated, moved their separate ways, and now this is the stage where you're already coming to understand. Your poverty is coming
Yes,
into
yes,
picture.
yes.
I mean, and you are realizing that things are changing, and you need a man to at least help you figure out all of this thing that is taking place. Was
Yes,
there a
yes.
kind of a an a kind of a father figure, or you have somebody who stepped into your life, despite your biological father being not being there, and who
Yeah,
helped
yeah.
you in that particular journey? Who is this person, and what exactly were the role he really played in your life? that has helped you to navigate those stages of boy or adolescence?
So, can you hear me now? Is the signal better?
Yeah, I can hear you now. It's a much
Okay,
better.
wonderful, wonderful. So let me
Sometimes it's
revisit your,
continue.
yeah, yeah, let me revisit your initial question. So at 12, 13, I believe I was going into the junior college, the junior college. The teachers were very vital. I remember his name is Mr. Wotunde. He was very, very strict. I mean, very, very strict. I mean, I know as a young boy, a teenager, you tend to want to explore and see what you can get away with. I got into a lot of trouble, but he was always caring and always instructive. He felt the need and took the responsibility. Can you still hear me? Are we still good?
Yeah, we see good. Wait, I'm kind of getting you. Talk about one teacher that stepped into your life, and this
Yes, Mr.
teacher
Wotunde.
was, yeah, Mr. Wotunde. So tell us about Mr. Wotunde. What was it that Mr. Wotunde was able to do to help you at that stage?
So, Mr. Wotunde, first and foremost, we had duties in school where we are assigned a particular job to do. And then I was working with him directly. Okay. So, Mr. Wotunde was my agricultural teacher, and he taught the agricultural curriculum in junior high. Okay. But most of the time, when I do things that were not, they don't make the best decisions, he was there to correct me with the cane. So, and also corporal punishment. Um, and even now, I still believe in that philosophy that undisciplined boys become undisciplined men. The disciplinarian or the discipline that I received from Mr. Wotunde and other teachers, their guidance really helped center me, brought me into a different path. Uh, as I was growing up in my teenage years, as I got older, I knew the difference between right and wrong, because sometimes we're easily influenced by our peers, and then we are the ones that are, where I was gifted with the opportunity to be the one that was caught in those acts, these misbehaviors because he was able to correct those misbehaviors, whether by, punishment or maybe assigning me more work to do. And I really appreciate that. Just looking back at that point in time, I thought it was really a blessing that, my friends, you at
So,
that point in time, you say, oh man, my friends got away with it. I was the only one that got caught, and it was a blessing.
so at that stage of your life, this between the age of 12 and 15.
Hmm.
Uh, what really held you back at that stage growing up? What would you say held you back growing up?
I think not having a father present um, really sets things in a different perspective. Not having a father present subjects you to certain things that you wouldn't have ordinarily experienced. Like verbal abuse, even this physical abuse. Um, a relative once told me when I was growing up that her husband is rich, and then her daughter, which is my cousin, is has a rich father. And at that point in time, I still get emotional when I think about it. That's one of those things that made me feel like I'll be there for my children. I made that commitment at that point in time that I will not be absent in my children's life that will prevent anyone to be able to make that kind of comment for them.
Yeah, as a father of
That,
two sons,
yeah.
what are the engagements you will say right now that you had to give up to raise?
Um, I think that I wouldn't say that I had to give anything up for them. I think that my motivation is for them. It's see, um, one have choices where you have your own personal ambition or drive or things that you want to accomplish. But my ambition is to set a pathway for them that they can follow. I don't want to cast shadow on my children's life or cast shadow on them, but I wanted to just kind of set example where they all themselves they can find their own pathway, make their own way. Um, I'm a very strong family man, and that's what drives me. Everything that I do, everything that I've done, it's always having them in the back of my mind. And I don't spare time with my children for any reason because I feel like those moments are very, very important and very crucial for them because that's something that they will always take. It's more of the wealth itself. That's the wealth they will always take with them for the rest of their life. Like trips that we've come here, we're in Nigeria, we're in Lagos right now. Coming here, visiting my home country where I come from, letting them eat the food, learn the languages, teaching them Yoruba, letting them know their roots because my wife, she's an African American, so she's from America. So, but also bringing her along and she, partnering up with me to make sure that my children know exactly where their father comes from and where their roots is from. Um, the sacrifice for me, sometimes I would say that I'm blessed in this way that it's never a position that I put myself where I have to choose between this or that. So I'm fortunate to be in that position, to be quite honest.
Thank you for sharing that. I appreciate the fact that you've been able to place your value in bringing up your children and
Yeah.
how important that is to you as an individual. Were there habits you have given up right now as a father just because well reasons?
Yeah. Okay. So about about 4 years ago, I my first child is very energetic. He's so energetic, and he likes to play, and I was always tired, and I was overweight. I was about 315 pounds overweight. And there was one moment that we did, they have this NFL draft in the US, and then we did a mock draft for him where he was getting drafted into, I believe, Minnesota Vikings. Just a fun thing to do. And I saw myself in that video, and I saw how overweight I was, and it was my hidden habits, lack of exercise, and I drank alcohol a lot. I drank a lot of alcohol. And at that point in time, I said, I want to be there for my son. If that moment ever happened, my son Xavier, if he ever had the opportunity to play soccer or American football or basketball at that stage, I want to be present. And that's when I started to give those personal habits for him. And now I even had the opportunity to coach him soccer.
Yeah, yeah,
and we both compete. I play with him like I play with grown men. So I don't give him a break at all. But we both compete, and it's a lot of joy that I find in just spending time with him and his brother, to be able to have the energy, because sometimes you don't have the energy to do things like that. You know, yeah,
yeah.
yeah, 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 yeah.
This is interesting. It's very interesting for men to understand, especially fathers, that when we begin
Yes,
to raise our boys, there are certain habits that we have to let
that's true.
in a in a bit to at least set the examples for them. You talk
Yeah,
about bonding activities you are having with your son and how this is playing out well for both of you now and growing up. You know,
yes,
boys tend to be
yes,
yeah, boys tend to be full of energy. They can drain all of the
yes.
energy in you because of their energy. Their brains are always running here and there, up and down.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
let look at it this way. At what stage in your life do you have the ideal kind of man you want to become? And how best could you describe that man you think you're going to become?
So, you know, I hope we have enough time. So just get it. But I say this: when being an entrepreneur is one thing that drove me, and I have this ambition and dream, personal ambition and dream, to create a business empire and to kind of build this business up to become this mega company. Um, but I did that for 10 years, whether it's real estate, whether it's banking or finance or financial services investments. And I had a level of success, but I was never satisfied. Is it when I purchased my first rental property, I wasn't satisfied. When I purchased my second one, I wasn't satisfied. Third, fourth, I wasn't satisfied. Until even now, I'm exploring the opportunity here in Lagos, you know. But there was always something inside of me that made me feel like I am not doing what God made me to do, what God intended me to do. And then I employed a lot of young men and women uh, in the past in my business and currently. And then I started to ask God to inspire me and say, hey, God, I wish I was a musician because it's fun. I wish I was an athlete. I'm like, God, what is my talent? What is my gift? What's my purpose on this earth? And, I just started to see the sign because my wife and myself are very close. We talk a lot. And then I started to realize that everyone that I've worked for me, that have been in my life, they are better than how I found them. And at that point in time, it was very clear what my intentions, uh, what my purpose was for. So when I came to Lagos, Eco, last year to come visit after many years, I saw a lot of opportunities here, you know, and that's the way my brain is wired. And I was like, wow, I'm gonna come to Lagos and make money. And I remember my wife was cautioning me, said, hey, all you think about is opportunity, opportunity. You need to open yourself up and just let yourself be. Let the spirit guide you. Let your ancestors guide you. Because when you see what you're supposed to do, the peace of mind and the joy that you have, that contentment and satisfaction, you will feel it. You will know it. So I recently was here for the presidential inauguration, and then also wanted to explore some real estate opportunities. And then I went to my old school, just being nosy. In fact, I didn't even know how to get. I didn't remember how to get to the school. Things has changed and the roads were different. Everything was different. I didn't remember. So I remember we trying to search where the school was, which is Government College Victoria Land on Waziri Bryan. I didn't even remember the street name. So I just wanted to see what my old secondary school was like. What was like fun to just get that feel. As we were going, we got lost. We had asked a lot of people direction. And something inside of me said, ask that man. There was a man just walking on the path of the road. And we asked him, and he gave us a different direction. So we were going through that pathway. And then I said, let's turn around. We saw him again. He was like, say, actually, this is how you get to the school. So he redirected us. He actually took the time with his phone to find directions for us, even though we've left. Yeah. So when I got to the school, and I'm like, oh man, I remember this place. I used to do frog jump, like the couple punishment, and I used to get, they call it in America we say spanky, but in Nigeria we say flogging. So I used to get a flogging because I was always a troublemaker. So just kind of reminiscing and going through that. So a teacher approached me, Miss Sonia. She's like, what can you do for us? I was like, okay, just kind of open-minded, just trying to see like, okay, maybe I can spend a few dollars here and there, and that'll be it. I'll just go by metering. She showed me the classes, and I was like, still open. I'm like, okay, no problem. I'll see what I can do, right? So on the very second day or third day, I met with the principal of the school, right? And I said, "Oh, we're
Okay.
here. We want to try to work with you to see if we can do some things for your school." She's like, "Okay, no problem. Let me show you around." So as we were going to the class, and I saw these boys, they were just kind of doing their own thing, like in the middle of the day. And I saw one boy, he sat down in a classroom and just laid down. I see he was in his living room. Me, I'm a disciplinarian, so I I wasn't gonna let that. I'll say, my friend, young man, come here, come here, come here. So he came. He was trembling. This boy, he stood like 6'3", 6'4", tall guy, way taller than me. I'm 5'11", so he's taller than me. So he's looking at, but he's trembling. I can see his legs shake. I was like, why you dressed up like this? You know? And then as I looked into the classroom, I see this other young guy was sweeping, and there was this cloud of dust all over the class. And he was sweeping it towards the other classmate who sat in that whole dust, and they were just inhaling it. So I walked in the class and I said, "Hey, you got to stop that." But I said, "I commend you because you, as I saw him, he was very well dressed. They wear white uniform. His uniform was very clean. He was neatly dressed. His shoes were clean. His uniform was clean." I said, "I see that you have a great presentation of yourself and that you are
Yeah.
very, very particular about your surroundings. But I'll tell you one thing. You're supposed to be a leader. You're not supposed to worry about just yourself. You're supposed to worry about everybody. That's your responsibility." And that's the first interaction I had with young men. And they were like, I believe, 14, 16 years old in that class, in that school. So, and as I was talking to them and we were having this conversation, because I was just impassioned. And I looked to the other
Yeah.
side of the window. There's a school called Corona International School. I mean, that school is American standard school. I mean, my kids goes to we go we're in America, so our school we know the things that are amenities that are there. I looked outside
Yeah.
the window at first, and I was like, "Wow, man!" And I looked in the class that I was in. The floors were, the concrete was out, there was dust, the walls were dirty, everything was not looking great. So I said, I started to talk to them, just addressing them, and having that conversation with them. And one of them, his name was Yusuf. He was laughing. He thought it was funny. I guess maybe my accent or, oh, I thought it was funny.
Yeah.
So I said, so I was asking all of them and say, "Okay, so you guys, what do you guys want to do?" Two of them told me they wanted to be accountants. And there was another young man, he stood up. He had a Messi jersey under his uniform. I said, "I could tell from your stand, I'm a soccer coach, that you are a midfielder." He said, "Yes." He said, "He plays midfield." I said, "You want to be a soccer player?" He said, "Yes." I asked other kids. So I said, "Yusuf, come here. I know you're going to be a comedian. That's what you want to do." And he said, "Yes, he wants to be a comedian." I said, "Come here, come here, come here, come here." I said, "You see these two guys right here in front? These two money guys? These are the guys that are going to steal your money." And you can see that whole laughter went away. He got
Mm-hmm.
very, very serious and very, very quiet in there. Because I was just trying to give him a dose of reality. Yes, Yusuf, you already know exactly what you want to do. And then you have that gift that God has given you to be an entertainer. But when you are making the money that God has gifted you, you have to understand that if you do not know your education and keep paying attention right now, somebody else will pay attention to your money. That's the first lecture that I thought I was given. So I said, "Okay, guys, I want to treat you guys. You guys tell me anything you want right now, right?" One said, "Oh, I want to go to a restaurant." I said, "Done, I got you. I'm going to take you guys to Chicken Republic." One said, "We need books and pens and everything." I said, "No, I got you." So I was looking at Yusuf. He was kind of hiding. I said, "Yusuf, you, my friend, stand up, stand up, stand up. Young man, stand up." He stood up and I said, "Yusuf, what would you like me to do?" He said, "Sir, can you make my class beautiful?" I said, "Wow." I just was emotional. And at that moment in time, I knew that he was using that humor to hide the pain and the surrounding, to just protect himself, to go by the day. And I thanked him because he chose me. You know, I had the impression that, oh, well, I can just do for them. At that point, he said, "Sir, I want you to make my class beautiful." I knew that was my purpose. Because you know what? If they don't have education, they don't have anything. If they can't even escape the reality of their life from home, coming from their house, to go to some place that at least looks decent and nice, that gives them hope, ambition, and a promise for a better future, they have nothing. And the idea that they go to class every day and look outside the window and say, this is what I'm not going to have, or this is not what I have. I have to do something about it. And to tell you, let me tell you, brother, it didn't cost me anything. It did not cost me a fortune. And I'll tell you where this school is located. There are multi-million-dollar homes in the neighborhood. There are wealthy people there. They
So would
just are
you,
not. Yeah.
yeah, so this experience redefines your life to find a purpose for the life you live right now. It's such a
Brother,
nice,
I
it,
I had the best. I had the best sleep that night. That night I never slept so well in my entire life. I had the best. It's like the peace of mind that I had. It's like, and I knew I was very content at that point. I was like, this is it. Yeah, yeah.
wow, wow, wow. So, so would you say because education has improved your life, that's why you have to choose your humanitarian investment in the educational advancement of these young boys? Or how would you explain to these young men that listen to how education has improved your own life?
You see, I have this philosophy is that this hands and this mind are the two things that you need in life to survive and to be able to provide for yourself. And I think we all get education wrong in some ways. We think that it's about learning in a formal institution and getting a degree. Also, too, that is great because it gives us that sense of like going through a process and getting information that allows us to finish and complete something. I think for me, having the education as a business person, having the education in the formal setting where I learn curriculums and courses and obtain my degree in finance and in economics, that is also great too. The education that I was much more concerned about is that when I looked at those students, not all of them are going to become doctors, lawyers, engineers, and all those things. It's the education of the mind. See, the education of the mind is so critical because if you have a poor mind, you cannot see past your circumstance. It's the education of the mind that I'm concentrating on to be able to empower this young man to say, hey, I will do something that nobody does. It is what they call as a blue water or the blue water, which is an area or a aspect that nobody wants to deal with that you go for, and that's the opportunity. See, nobody wants to do it. You are taking advantage of that space and you're doing it. That's why a lot of multi-billionaires have been so successful because they're doing something not everybody's doing. See, those kids, what they learn is self-reliance because not only did they pick up the brush, they started to paint themselves. And I started to see skills in them that I'm like, man, this guy could be a
Yeah,
contractor, could be a painter,
yeah,
will have their own business. Those are the things where it helps kids and help this young man become providers because they're sons right now, they're brothers right now, but they will become husbands and fathers and leaders of communities and those that interfere, just influencing them and just setting those little moments in their life where they always go back to reflect on. It's important. Yeah, I'm sorry I have to be a little bit lengthy, but it's very
Yeah,
crucial.
I think you're giving us a very good perspective and insight into all of the questions we are exploring in your adventure. Now, Sean, if you want to look back, what worries you the most about growing in your growing up years?
If I look back, I think that I was blessed with free education. I think that the education right now in most countries, even in USA, even in the Western countries too, it's not the same that I have that I experienced. See, this school that we're talking about, we had first class brains. There are individuals today that are in government, that are lawyers, engineers, teachers, business owners that graduated from that same school that I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And from what I saw, it kind of made me nervous because they don't have the basic tools. The basic tools is just having a class that is functional enough where they can concentrate on learning. That's what scares me the most. So that aspect of it is, and the way I look at it is, it's not as difficult to do, but also there's always difficulties in getting it done because there's no cooperation from different entities. Whether it's a lack of not interested or there's no economic incentive. Nigeria is becoming, or is trying to get from that developing country that's been for the last 60 years to becoming at least an emerging economy. And when we talk about the future, and we have to get these children ready for those jobs that are going to be here. And if they're not prepared mentally, emotionally, or even academically, they don't have a good future, and it's not a good intention for to mend the gap between poverty and very very wealthy individual. That's what makes me very very scared because the labor force here, there are a lot of talented individuals um, that are going to school, and and I think that all the entities are just separated, but it's something that needs to be done with the cooperation of all the entities. Is the humanitarian entities like the NGOs all over the country or in West Africa or in Africa? Is it the corporate entity? Is it the corporate Nigeria or corporate Africa? Is it the government itself? One thing that I taught those young men is that don't wait. There's this saying by JFK. It said, "Ask not what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country." And there's this selfish um, trait and selfish trend that I've seen, which comes from the social media. And I'll elaborate real quickly because I know we're expired in time. Is that everybody is always thinking about self, and to be able to do for others, it doesn't take much. It doesn't take much because while you think that you have the worst circumstance, somebody else does. I am not a wealthy man by any chance, but I have the wealth of the mind because I know that if I needed to get funding, make money, I know how to. And that's the things that I'm trying to inspire others to see. See, I went to the branch today in the bank today, and I was talking to this young man who does life insurance. I said, "You have the ability, if you see in a branch." I said, "Look at that floor. You see, that's water spill right there. Somebody can get hurt." Nobody saw it. I saw it. I said, "But you can hire janitor services to always be cleaning. That's an opportunity because nobody else is doing it." You know, even the streets that in Landmark here in Oniru on Corporate Water, the street going into Landmark is absolutely a disaster. Your vehicle can get damaged, but I don't understand why you have this multi-billion uh, infrastructure, and the street will probably take less than 10 million to fix. It's something that can be done. And in right in front of that, there are a strong labor force of people that can be put to work right then and there. I don't think they will mind making at least 5,000 a day just to move the interlock from one place to another. So those are the opportunities that I see, you know. And everybody's always saying, well, I think the politicians should deal with that. I think the government should deal with that.
Yeah,
No, we all have
yeah.
responsibility. Yeah.
Let's look at your greatest question. What is the greatest question you've ever asked yourself?
It's our purpose. What is my purpose? And then finding it is the greatest answer that I've ever received. The greatest question I've ever asked myself for many years is like, God, why am I on this planet?
Wow. And because of your recent experience in Nigeria, you've been able
Yes,
to find your purpose. That is
yes.
great, and I really appreciate you for that. If you had to live your teenage years, right, what do you think you will have done different? Or what advice do you have for your younger self?
There's nothing I would have done differently. I wouldn't change my teenage years. All the experiences that I have, being raised by a single mom, having a dad absent, that would not. That's what made me the man that I am today. You know, and other people that are fortunate that have their parents, their fathers in life, that made them the men that I have today, that they are today. So if a if someone has a father in their life, I think that even if the father is not the Leave It to Beaver or the Bill Cosby type of dad, you should always appreciate those moments with your parents because you can learn some things from them, what they did wrong or what they did very, very well. It's always a takeaway, a note. You know, we sometimes we focus on the negative or we focus too much on the positive. We always gotta have a good balance of what it is. That's my advice to any young man and any young man that is trying to uh, uh, they're still confused in the direction. They should listen to their conscience. I think God always comes into our hearts to do that right thing. Sometimes it's very, very difficult. So we just want to, keep that in mind. Yeah.
In 3 minutes, if you have to explain it, how do you want to finish strong?
I want to, my purpose and my ambition is to touch as many lives as possible. Um, there was this interview that I saw about this. Um, there's an entrepreneur, businessman here in Nigeria. That's one of the people that drew me to this country. I forget his name, but he has an airline, and I think he hired about 10,000 people that work for him in his airline, from the pilot to the air attendants to the booking, all those people. And I think to myself, I said, God, what would it be like every morning, over 20,000 people just praying for my well-being and asking God to guide my step? That's one thing. But I might not have that opportunity. But I want to touch as many lives as possible. I want people to remember me that every moment that I come into their life, that I inspire them to be the greatest version that God made them to be, the greatest person that God intended them to be. That even if they are in a dire situation, maybe an orphan, or maybe they work a media job, that they should always inspire to see something positive out of the circumstances. Because I feel, in, and then I feel like in my experience, I've done some things work where I'm like, Lord, I know that this is not where I'm supposed to be. But when I reflect back, I felt that there was a lot of things that helped me. Like when I worked for Gap and I was always folding clothes and working in the back room and all that stuff. But today, if you see my wardrobe, it's like organized. So there are skills that we pick up that where we're in any position that doesn't seem flattering, doesn't seem glamorous. It's not, but there are skills that we pick up that we need that helps us to help others, to help others. So I
So
just
thank you so
enjoy
much for your
touching
time
people's
today,
lives.
Mr. Sean.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
just can't.
yeah. Thank
I
you.
can't put it. I wish this conversation could just continue on and on, but our time is fast spent, and we have less than 10 minutes to wrap up this conversation. Before I let it
No
go
problem.
and bring it, what's the funniest thing you've ever done as?
Whoa, funniest thing. That's a tough one. I I can't really think of anything. I can't think of anything involved with me like being a prankster, or I'm not really a prankster, but I think that I would say the funniest thing when I was done was I have a lot of humor. I have a sense of humor. And I like to entertain people and just make people laugh. And sometimes the joke could be a little bit more expensive, but I can't think of anything right now. I can't even think of anything particularly like a prank or something like that. So, um, but yeah.
So where can people find you?
Yes, I am a photographer and also an artist. I'm on Instagram, Art by Sean Ajayi, and also I have my Instagram account with Sean Ajayi Instagram. My insurance agency is a farmers agency, it's a franchise in California. If you could just look up my name, Sean Ajayi, I'm on all of on Google. Yeah, I'll be finding. You can find me there. Yeah.
So we appreciate your coming, Mr. Sean, and we can't thank you enough for sharing your adventures, your experiences with us, and your newfound love about the humanitarian work you want to, you're here to say. And, many years ago, it occurred to me when life seems like I don't have a purpose. I don't really know what to do with that. So I remember one morning I sat down and I said, what is the purpose of life? Or better still, what is the ultimate purpose of it? It took me years to figure it out. But I remember in 2007, precisely, I bought a book authored by Jack Canfield. Yeah, The Principle of Success. I read that. And I also bought this book by John Maxwell, Put Your Dream to Test. After I was done reading these books, so one morning I realized that, oh, Ola, what is the purpose of life? And the answer came from from your deeper subconscious. And it told me
Yes.
the purpose, the ultimate purpose of life is to live. And the second question that came up there in my mind was, then Ola, how do you live? Now you know the ultimate purpose of life is to live. Then how do I? That was another quest again. So I began a new search that, oh, how do I live?
Yeah.
Yeah, it took me a while again, and I got to a point. I took the word LIVE, how do I live? And I created an acronym for each letter in live. And that became like a springboard, a guidepost on how I live my life. And this I share with every of my guests in closing. And the first letter in the word live is L. It
Yes.
simply means, Ola, you live to love others.
Need to love others.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. in loving others, love, you have three things I find out under that love. You must create love. Love is always created.
Great love. Okay. Great love. Okay.
Yeah. So it's not something that just come from the moon. When God wanted to create the world, He created everything. It was created. Even love was created. And I look at love
That's
like
true.
the sunshine. When the sun is shining, it doesn't know whether it's giving its sunlight to the black or to the blue or to the tallest tree or to the minute plants on the planet. He just
Mm-hmm.
he just gives that energy to everybody. And we all
Mm.
take the portion that we need to try when we're here.
Mm-hmm.
And that's for me the way the true love is. It must be a love that gives to everybody. And without saying, oh, like the sun. If I had not given you sunlight straight, you wouldn't have produced the harvest you got right now. If I had
Oh
not
wow. Wow.
given, yeah, if I had not given you the apple, the sunlight, the corn, everything, the grass, it would have come green. The same thing with the rain. When it rains on everybody.
Oh,
This,
everything. Yeah.
yeah. So you must create love and express it in that form. So the second one is when you create love, you must practice it. It's
Love.
not, it's not enough to create. You must go ahead and practice. It's just
Mm.
like someone who has found a love for football or for soccer and who does not go out to practice the skills of playing
Mm.
soccer. How then will he express himself on
Mm.
the pitch, on the soccer field? So what I found about this love is that most times we create the love, we don't
Mm-hmm.
practice enough of it, and that
Yeah.
denies us of the expression of our love. And Mr. Sean, it
Mm.
is impossible to penetrate into the heart of any man without the
Mm.
expression of your love for that person. It
That's
begins
true.
from the
That's
mind. So from
that's true.
that, you must find an avenue to create this. So I see love as that thing that, look, you must create it first, practice it, and
Mm-hmm.
express it. Then the next
Yeah.
letter in that lane is the I, and is to inspire others. Look at
Inspire
just
others. Yes.
yeah, yeah. Look at what just happened in the school you visit. Just a little time with those boys, they got you inspired, and in return, you were inspired to receive what you went. You know,
Yes.
I love the way somebody put it. I don't know the actual said I aspire to inspire till I expire.
Oh, yeah. Oh wow. Hmm. Aspire to inspire till I expire.
Yeah,
Wow. That's profound. That's profound.
yeah,
That
yeah,
is just the stages of life. Yes.
yeah. So, and what does it mean to inspire? Is it's just like what you did when you went to the schools. You saw a building of the school in a dying situation, and you
Mm.
came back and put roofs and put paintings there. You
Mm-hmm.
brought life back into that building, and the learning atmosphere changed. So
Mm.
that is the true meaning of inspire in the original Latin word, to breathe life or bring life into a dying situation, or when something is going bad and you step in, you bring the good out of it. So every day when I wake up, I say, how do I live an inspired life? Who are the people that God has said, okay, you're going to inspire? Then
Mm-hmm.
next letter, the next letter is B.
Mm. Yes.
That is value orders. Now, the best way for me to value others is to serve. That's where the service is, because
It's to serve.
the ultimate, yes, the ultimate purpose of life is to live. To live to do what? To serve.
Live to serve.
And it is in your service for others. That's the value you bring into their lives.
Mm-hmm.
So the cap you're wearing now is adding value to your fashionable look. The seat you are sitting on
Thank
is
you.
adding value. But they are not just adding value, they are serving.
Yes.
The,
Mm.
the platform we're using to communicate now is serving a purpose.
It's serving
So,
purpose. To meet him, yeah.
and the most concerned part of it for me, if you are not adding value to your humanity through service, you have arrived
Mm-hmm.
here you have arrived here to rob humanity of your existence. So humanity was missing something, and that is
Mm.
why you have come here to bring in that value that was missing
Mm.
through service. And
Service, value,
E,
service.
the last
Mm-hmm.
E there is to educate others. Got it.
That's my
And
favorite word.
and when you look at this is the beauty of the Bman. It becomes a pillar in us. You can see here now, LIVE.
I love
To love,
you.
inspire,
Inspire,
value,
serve, educate.
educate.
Education, yeah.
Yeah. So it
Education.
becomes a wheel that drives my life. And this is what I'm trying to establish when I go into mentoring boys. This is my first message, to understand the ultimate purpose of life and how
Mm.
to live life. Now, the last thing we talk about, which is educate others. I read somewhere that if you want to live for just 1 year, or you are planning for 1 year, you plan corn, you plan annual crops. If you are planning for a decade or 10 years, you plan a tree.
Mm.
But if you are planning for a lifetime, you educate children, you educate the next generation, because the greatest assets on earth right now is not the
Mm-hmm.
resources underwater.
No, it's
Our
not.
greatest asset right now are our children.
That's it.
The
The future. They are the
next
future.
generation now, yeah, that's our asset. So educating them, investing in their education, giving back to them your knowledge, your skills, your abilities in such a way that can help them to bring out the potentials in them. This is the
Mm-hmm.
education I talk.
Yeah.
And this for me is how I discover the purpose of life and how I live life every day. So, with that being said, my brother, thank you for the opportunity to have
Thank
you
you
on this
for
show.
me.
We look forward to your connection, to benefit and mutual relationship. And with
Absolutely.
that being said, to the audience, read that network, that is not enough. We appreciate you for joining this conversation all the way from New York. And to those who will watch this conversation thereafter, we say thank you. Until next week,
Thank you.
Monday, we'll have another episode 14 of this conversation. I would like to say, find the purpose of your life and you live. Thank you, brother.
Thank you. Thank you too. Thank you so much. Stay blessed.